Hi, everybody. This is Ashley Olson from wheelchairtraveling.com. I am here with Ian from New Mobility Magazine, one of the editors for our beloved magazine. And I'm here today to talk to him about Oregon because he's definitely what I would consider an expert in Oregon. He's been up, down, east, west, north, south. So I want to kind of pick his brain and share some resources and tips for you guys about exploring Oregon. So first of all, of course, Oregon, when we think of Oregon, a lot of people think of Portland, Oregon. I feel like that's usually like the first thing that comes to mind. But I want to, just kind of jump right past Portland because, people know to check it out. They have some fairly good, like transportation, and there's some, definitely some good things to see in Portland. But there's just so much to Oregon, and I wanted to kind of, definitely address that. So, now, just talking about just outside of Portland, are there any areas that stand out to you being wheelchair accessible that somebody in a wheelchair shouldn't miss out?
Nah, there's nothing to see here. You don't want to come to Oregon. So you're like, it's not worth your time. There's nothing cool. No, there's a ton. I love Oregon. I lived here for almost 30 years now, and I think the thing that separates Oregon and makes it unique is that it encompasses pretty much every type of environment that you can imagine. We've got beautiful coasts, we've got redwoods, we've got high desert, we've got mountain ranges, we've got rivers, we've got forests, we've got alpine meadows, we've got like crazy deserts you've never heard of. Like whatever you're looking for, you're gonna find it. And as far as accessibility, we're I think pretty ahead of the curve in a lot of the ways. I'm not saying everything's going to be accessible, but there are a lot of great accessible options throughout the state and really good resources for people who are looking to take advantage of, curated stuff or just places if you want to go pioneer for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon, as you were saying, Oregon is just filled with just rugged beauty of all different kinds. I mean, yeah, from the high desert to the coast. So I guess let's start talking about the coast then first. Are
Sure.
there any wheelchair accessible beaches, trails, viewpoints along the coast that come to mind, like Cannon Beach, Newport?
Yes. So for people who haven't been to the Oregon coast, it's stunningly beautiful. The drive up the 101, which is the freeway that runs all the way up and down the coast, is worth your time. And if you have, a day or two to do that at least, it's probably about a 9 hour, 10 hour straight through. But you'll want to spend more time because there's tons of beaches along the way there that have really interesting access and different things to do from a number of beaches in the last few years where they've added I think they're called Moby mats, for wheelchair users that go out where you can actually roll in the sand and, get really close down to the water to a lot of beaches that have great lighthouses or, accessible kind of walkways along them. I was just over on the coast a couple of weeks ago exploring a part in the southern coast I'd never been to and found this amazing state park called Shore Acres that I'd never been to, that was full of great paved and unpaved trails that you could do in a manual or power chair. I was able to in my power chair get along pretty far. And it was just a place I stopped off on the side of the road and I spent a couple hours there. So everyone worth exploring.
All right, so you were talking about, yeah, the Moby beach mats. Are there any beaches in particular that come to mind that you can kind of shout out?
Yeah, I mean, Lincoln City is a popular one. I know they have the Moby Mat now. And Cannon Beach is a beautiful beach. I don't know if they have Moby Mat yet or not. If you have to look, there's a page on the Oregon site that has on Travel Oregon where I think they list them all. They're working with Wheel of the World to put those in. But I think Newport has one, I want to say. And Newport's a really cool town to explore also.
Mhm.
Um, Honestly, I'm not sure which other ones do, but I believe there's a couple more that are going in.
Okay. Are there any accessible accommodations um along the coastal towns that come to mind that, you found that are particularly good, or maybe like a chain of hotel or, Airbnb, anything like that?
I haven't had a lot of luck with Airbnb. I'm always looking there and just I haven't found as someone who needs like or really would like to have a roll-in shower.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't found a lot of places that have that. If you don't need a roll-in shower, you have a lot more options. And I would recommend checking that out. I've had good luck. There's a rental site that's I think locally owned called Oregon. I think it's Oregon Beach Vacations, and they have a number. They have a sub-accessible page there, and I've stayed in 2 or 3 of the places on that page, and had really great luck, including one that was. I want to say 1 second. One of the places is I think it's just north of Newport. I can't remember the name of it now. I think it's called the Ohm House, OM House.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful 3-story house with an elevator, very private, that overlooks the beach, right above the beach. You can do whale watching from the deck, just stunning. So I would recommend checking that place out. And then obviously there's hotels and stuff, a lot of resorts throughout the beach. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for that, you should have a problem.
What about beach wheelchairs?
There are a number of places that rent beach wheelchairs out, and I've seen a few rentals that actually have beach wheelchairs there. I was just looking the other day about booking a larger house for a big group, and it comes with its own beach wheelchair, so it's fully accessible. So keep an eye out for those kind of things too. I don't know exactly which places have the beach wheelchairs right now. They've been adding more and more. Again, I would recommend checking that Travel Oregon site for all the beach mats and beach wheelchair sites.
Good. Oh, I'm happy that they have that listed. So very useful. So Crater Lake National Park, definitely one of the biggest major tourist attractions in Oregon. What are the pathways like there? How is it like for somebody traveling in a wheelchair?
So again, as a power wheelchair user, my experience there was a little underwhelming. It's beautiful. It's even if you've never been to Crater Lake, you have to go and drive through and check it out. I didn't find any trails that I was excited about afterwards. There's a couple of loops around the visitor center. And it's a nice lodge there that I think they're currently redoing, so it's a little dated. But most of the actual access down to the water is not super accessible. Maybe there's a way if you're a more aggressive manual chair user, but I felt pretty stymied. Now, the secret thing that I just discovered on the trip, which I would recommend, instead of Crater Lake, like, well, not instead of, but go to Crater Lake, but then go to Diamond Lake, which is about, I don't know, less than an hour away from Crater Lake in Central Oregon. It's a beautiful, crystal clear kind of glacial lake, and it has a 10-mile fully paved, all the way around, not down and back, loop that goes around it, that has a pier. You can start out on the water over the lake where you can literally reach down and grab brown trout out of the water. You can just see them swimming.
Wow.
Or you can, I can share you photos of this too, because I just took a bunch and it's blown away. Or you can
That's
roll all the,
close. You
yeah.
can get really close. That's amazing.
And then you roll around the lake and you go through all these different terrains, including like low forest. And when we were there, it just snowed for the first time this year. So there was a dusting of snow, but it's a probably 4-foot wide paved trail all the way around. And we were the only people there when I rolled. It just had the whole lake to ourselves with wildlife. And I have a friend who went there in a chair and she saw a black bear the last time. So highly recommend putting that on your list. It's one of the nicest long paved trails I've been on anywhere on the West Coast.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I definitely want to put that on my list for sure.
Yeah.
So an area that I really like also in Oregon is the Columbia River Gorge area. I just think it's just absolutely beautiful, even if you don't even get out of the car. I mean, it's just such a beautiful spot.
Yep.
So can you share, anything about that area? Like, do you
Yeah.
have
So I
any
mean, the
accessible
gorge is
trails, viewpoints? Like how can people enjoy it?
So the gorge is right outside of Portland, and it runs all the way along, all the way on Oregon's northern border with Washington. And it's a quick 10-minute drive from Portland to start it, and then you can drive it, for 4 hours east if you want. The highlights that I would point out, accessibility wise, is all along the Oregon side runs a historic highway that used to be the main road, and now is like a scenic, saved highway that meanders up through above the current highway, past at least 6 or 7 stunning waterfalls within probably 15 miles.
Yeah.
And you can drive this road. I don't think you need a pass anymore. You need a pass for a little bit. I think it's just anybody can do it now. And stop at all these waterfalls and get out. There's trails all throughout there, a couple of which are accessible or at least doable. I've done them in my power chair, and you can do them in the manual chair. But even if you don't do the trails, just the drive to see the waterfalls is unbelievable. The culmination is Willamette Falls, which is super famous, and you've seen it probably in postcards or elsewhere. And there's a visitor center there. You can get out and roll up to it or roll some of it. And then definitely we're seeing that. And if you go a little bit farther out, the highway continues. And at some point, it puts you back onto the main freeway. But what they're doing now is they've been renovating the old freeway to make it a fully accessible paved trail that runs for, 10, 12, 15 miles along the gorge. And it's right above the freeway for a lot of it, or kind of just off the road. But stunning views of the water and the Washington side, big, wide, really nicely paved. It can be a little loud at times when you run on the freeway, but totally worth doing. Right now, I don't know if there's, I think there's a couple places we have to get on and get off because they haven't finished it all. But the parts right past Willamette Falls, and then the parts farther out around Hood River and Mosier it's called the Mosier Tunnels. And where the cars used to drive through, you can roll through now, and highly recommend that.
Yeah, it's cool. I've done that, but absolutely love that area. And again, you can see some of these beautiful landscapes, waterfalls just off the side of the road, which I think is very convenient in case you want to get out a couple times, but you don't have to get out necessarily at every single one if you're too tired or you don't have the time or whatnot.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're a lazy traveler, which I sometimes am, it's great car traveling. So you can just see it all from your car and be like, oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, super scenic, just so very lovely. Okay, now let's kind of move into Central Oregon and talk about Bend, Oregon, and just Central Oregon in general, which is definitely known for, I feel like, outdoor adventure, like particularly Bend. I feel like there's a lot of like adaptive outdoor rec options, kayaking, fishing, you name it. So what do you know about this? What do you know about this area? What can you recommend?
So again, I was just over in Bend a couple weeks ago, and I make it over there once or twice a year. It's about 3 hours from Portland, depending on which way you go. And it's high desert, so it's a totally different climate than the western part of the state. And it's naturally beautiful. It's a little bit warmer in the summer, and kind of drier. But it's filled with amazing trails. The city has blown up the last 15 years, and it's gotten to be a very pricey, kind of bougie place to live. But they've done a great job of building trails throughout it as they've developed it. And I believe it's Oregon Adaptive Sports runs a lot of outdoor activities there. And the summer that you can, it's a great place for hand cycling and exploring trails. In the winter, they do a lot of skiing at Mount Bachelor and elsewhere. I am kind of just a casual roller with that stuff, and I found a number of fun trails there as a power chair user that I like, that run along like the Deschutes River, which cuts right through town. There's a couple rivers around there. They just redid their downtown. The downtown is cut by, like I said, the Deschutes River, and they just finished or are in the process of finishing a fully accessible new walkway that runs right along the river through the heart of downtown. And it's paved and graded perfectly for pushing or rolling in a power chair. and at parts you're like actually over the water, where all the people are paddle boating and out there, doing whatever. It's very well integrated. It feels like you're right there. Great example of accessible design. So definitely recommend that.
Yeah, can you do you know of any of the adaptive rec companies that you can give
Yeah,
them
I think
shout
Oregon
outs to?
Adaptive Sports is where I would start. They're based in Bend, and they do a great job. Um, Beyond them, I don't know. I'm sure there are others, but they're
Yeah.
really well known.
Okay. Um, so what about like the Sun River area or
I
like
haven't
Smith
done a
Rock
lot
State
there.
Park?
Yeah, I haven't done a lot in Sun River. Smith Rock is about 20-30 minute drive, and I have been there. There's tons of mountain climbing and rock stuff there. I think there's some cool accessible trails, but I haven't done that for hand cycling.
Yeah.
Um, but if you drive out there, it's worth the drive just to see all the birds of prey nesting in the, you can see them swooping around and watch all the people climbing, and you can get right down. There's a very steep access road that will take you down into this gully to the bottom of the rocks, where you can
Nice.
kind of watch everybody getting set up and explore from there. But just know that you're not going to be able to push that. You're going to need help if you are in a manual chair, and a power chair is probably too steeply graded, honestly. So I think you can drive down it and do that.
Yeah, okay. Good. And then so what about in Southern Oregon, which I feel like is generally like less talked about than the rest of Oregon. But I know growing up, my grandma would always go to the Shakespeare Festival, which happens down there. And then there's the Rogue River. So how do you know anything about how accessible these experiences are for people in wheelchairs?
Yeah, so like I said, I just did this road trip where I went through the southwest part of the state, which is the Rogue River area in Ashland and Medford. And at the very southern southwest border, it's actually the top of the redwood forest. When people always think of California and redwoods, but that squeaks into Oregon in the southwest. There is a little bit of that. And then coming up into Ashland and Medford, which are the first big two cities right on I-5 there. Ashland is home of the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which is world renowned, and goes on most of the year now, I think. And I have been to plays there. They have an insanely cool historic outdoor theater, which if you are at all a fan of plays or just live performance, it's worth going to. It's the closest thing you're going to find to what it would have been like to go to, Shakespeare in its time, as far as a venue. If they have accessible seating, I've done it. It's good, and they're very accommodating. They have a bunch of other indoor theaters, which I haven't been to, but I've heard the same thing. It's not a huge town. It's a college town. I've had friends Airbnb there. There's also a bunch of kind of motels and things like that. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, they're definitely used to catering to a lot of tourists in general.
Yeah, a lot of tourism there. So and Ashland is a really cute town with a very rollable downtown. Lithia Springs Park, I think, is right in the center of it. And it's very scenic.
Yeah, super cute town.
Yeah. Medford, not sure there's as much there around there, but that whole area is surrounded by, like you said, the Umpqua River, and it's I just did the scenic highway that cuts up around there and goes over the coast, and beautiful drive. It's a really wide-based river with a lot of fun rapids. I'm sure there's accessible options on that. I don't know exactly what they are, but I'm sure there's something there for rafting or kayaking, because lots of people do recreation there.
Yeah. And what about Oregon's wine country? Because I mean, I know, California has, its own wine country, but Oregon definitely has an amazing wine country of its own. So where is it located? And tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's just outside Portland. It starts, you start to see wineries pop up with like 20 minutes outside Portland, and then for about an hour, the southwest of Portland. McMinnville, in that area is well known for. Oregon stands for Pinot Noirs, and that's really what put us on the map. But that's changing, obviously, with climate change and stuff, and temperatures changing. Growing a lot more new kinds of grapes, and it's just exploded over the last 30 years. You can get pretty much anything up here now, it seems like. And there's tons of beautiful wineries that have built up tasting rooms and experience centers, and frisbee golf courses and restaurants. And I think McMinnville is a great place to start if you want to stay and check that out. You're going to have some really cute boutique hotels, also basic, kind of more, budget friendly places. Good food in McMinnville. It's got a nice downtown street, and you're within 15 minutes of literally probably 75 wineries, 80 wineries. And so, if you want to get out, there are accessible tours to do wine tasting and go to different places, or you can just drive around yourself and check it out, as long as you're careful with drinking and driving with that.
Yeah, of course.
But there's so many options now, and they just keep getting better and better, honestly. Like places that were nice 15 years ago are stunning now, and it's worth spending a couple days in the summer and just going up. You can find a place and look out over the valley and have a wine and cheese board, feel like you're in the south of France.
Yeah. And where's that in reference to Portland?
It's about starting 20 minutes, but probably an hour. McMinnville about 45 minutes southwest of Portland.
Okay, southwest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I went there, I was just not expecting just all the rolling hills and valleys. Yep. I mean, it's so very picturesque, the wine country up in Oregon. Absolutely lovely. And like you said, just lots of really neat places to, of course, wine taste, but also, just to eat as well, eat and just enjoy the view.
Yeah.
So tell me about Eastern Oregon. It's very, very rugged. And there is, some accessible, like natural sites and like cultural landmarks and stuff like that, like Painted Hill and
So Painted Hills is a rad spot. It's actually closer to, I would say that's more central. That's like, if you're going to Bend, Painted Hills is something to check out.
Okay.
I was just showing someone photos from going there. But it's hard to describe. It literally looks like someone painted all the hills around there with a brush, and, in kind of these distinctive colors. But it's all the layers of rock and dirt from different areas that have kind of created this stunning mosaic of, natural beauty. There's some great access there. They built a couple of boardwalks, and there was 3 or 4 trails that I found rollable on a powered chair. And I'm sure that if you were, hand cycling or in a manual chair, you could explore even more. Eastern Oregon, if you keep going, there's kind of the northeast and the southeast is probably the best way to break it up.
Okay.
The northeast is the Blue Mountains and I think it's the Wallowa Mountains. The biggest town up there is a little, not very big town. It's called Joseph. It's sort of an artist community. There's a lake there, and you got the mountain ranges all around it. It's very scenic, very rural, remote. There's no real main road there. I mean, you're going there to go there, basically. I have manual chair using friends who have raved about riding trails and stuff out there. I went there at the start of the winter, and there wasn't a lot to do as a power chair user. It was pretty shut down. There was a couple of cool trails around the lake, and the downtown is really cute with restaurants and stuff to check out. And I rolled around and checked out. I'm glad I went and saw it, but it wasn't more than a couple of days for me. But there's a gondola that goes up where you can get a view over. I think that only operates in the summer though. Fishing, outdoor wildlife. There's deer running around everywhere. You feel like you're more in the wilderness than most parts of Oregon, but just the mountain is. The other thing up there is Hell's Canyon. I did do that, and that's very cool. It's one of the largest canyons in the West. I think it's actually bigger than Grand Canyon, I want to say.
Wow.
and so there's some measure where it isn't over what, everything's got its own thing, but it's a little bit of a drive to get to the accessible viewpoints where you can really see it. And a lot of like washboard driving, definitely like have a good vehicle.
Yeah.
But it is stunningly picturesque once you get out there. So that's there. And then Southern Oregon or Southeast Oregon is a whole other thing. That's really the one part of the state that I have not explored that's on my list. And the two things down there that I haven't checked out that I want to check out are the Alvord Desert and Steens Mountain. And you've probably seen Alvord Desert in commercials or something else. It's like this big flat, like salt flat type thing that just runs forever. And Steens Mountain is right alongside it, and it's just a massive mountain in the middle of nowhere. And it's got wildlife and all this other stuff. And I've heard it's worth going to, but I've never been. So I can't speak to the accessibility of either of those. I've had friends who've car camped and done stuff. I know that having looked at accessible accommodations to try and explore down there, it's literally in the middle of nowhere, and there were no accessible rooms within 30 or 40 miles. So if you're going to go there, you probably need to have your own plans for camping out or doing something that works for you.
Yeah.
Those accommodations I could find were about an hour and a half west, and not really ideal. So
yeah. So you kind of touched on it a little bit. Do you know anything about camping in Oregon? Like, is there any like, particular like really great spots? Like, have they done, are accessible sites pretty standard, or, are there any special features?
I mean, I've never heard of people having problems camping in Oregon.
Yeah.
I think the state's pretty gung ho about accessibility and camping. There's tons of great campgrounds, and I think as long as you're not making last minute reservations, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
In Portland, there's some good resources for accessible camping. I would connect through the Oregon Spinal Injury Connection. Here, they have a good list of wheelchair friendly resources and campsites. And there's I guess Adventures Without Limits that organizes accessible camping trips.
Yeah.
If you're something that's new to you, or you're looking to get involved in something that's more organized, they do like kayaking and camping and things like that. So
yeah, good. I would assume like, that would include like, of course, like areas like around like Deschutes and all the national forests and.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just too many options to list.
Yeah.
People come to Oregon to get out there and experience that sense of the state.
Yeah, to enjoy the outdoors for sure. So how's accessible transportation in Oregon, especially in some of these rural areas? I mean, is it definitely recommended that everybody has their own vehicle, or like renting a vehicle?
I mean, outside the Portland metro area, I think you're gonna probably want to have a vehicle.
Yeah.
If you're coming to Portland, you can definitely get around without a vehicle. Accessible transit here is very accessible between all the options if you want to have a problem. I can't speak to trying it in other parts of the state, but I honestly can't think of anywhere other than maybe Bend where you would be able to really get around. Bend has buses and stuff, and I imagine you could get most places in Bend, but I wouldn't feel comfortable probably anywhere else without at least a car or a van or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so are there any other like unique or hidden gems that you want to share about, that would be of interest?
Yeah, we covered a lot of them.
You did. You covered a lot.
Going back to the coast, the northern coast, I really like Astoria, which is a little fishing town that's right on the mouth of the Columbia, and has a very kind of distinct feel. It's where they filmed Goonies, if you're of our generation, and Kindergarten Cop. But it just feels like a throwback fishing village, and there's some good seafood options there, a couple of good breweries. There's a bridge that goes across the Columbia into Washington. Some great accommodations, like there's where you can just stay out actually over the Columbia water and watch the giant sea freighters come in.
Cool.
And sometimes in the winter, I just like to go out there and, rent a room and just stay in my room in the warm and watch the giant boats come in and birds fly by and stuff. And
Yeah.
It can be pretty relaxing. So
Yeah, and the Lewis and Clark Trail is also up there as well.
Yeah, you'll see those signs everywhere. I mean, the Lewis and Clark Trail cuts through all of Oregon, and you can roll a lot of those parts. There's also the Pacific Coast Trail. A lot of hikers do. It runs up and down the, California and Oregon. So everything's running around here. If you like the outdoors and you're willing to adventure a little bit, there are plenty of fun places to explore throughout the state.
Excellent. So Ian, I really want to appreciate your time here today. And is there any other people that you actually want to give some appreciation to, like any other organizations out there, like in Oregon, that you want to give some love to that you haven't already?
No, I think I mentioned the main ones. I think Oregon Adaptive Sports, Adventures Without Limits, Oregon Spinal Cord Injury Connection. Those are all great resources if you're trying to plan a trip as a wheelchair user and want to do outdoor stuff. I really appreciate what Wheel the World's doing to grow accessibility. And I've been impressed with Travel Oregon. They're not disability specific. Obviously, they're more of a travel related entity, but they seem to be really committed to access. And I think making people aware of what Oregon has to offer and getting more people with disabilities to come up here benefits everybody. So it's nice to see people working towards that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, again, thank you for your time here today and all of your knowledge sharing about Oregon. Oregon is such a gorgeous place to go. So green, but not even just green, because you still have the high desert as well. There's so many different faces of Oregon, but definitely one of my favorite states here in the United States. And recommend people, checking out Oregon outside of the Portland area, because there's so much to see. Wine country, coastal, like I said, desert, mountains, lots of great outdoors, lots of beauty, lots of rugged beauty.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Ian from New Mobility Magazine. Don't forget to check out that magazine.
Come check us out. Come check out newmobility.com too.
Yes, newmobility.com.
Everybody else, but I gotta hype myself too. So
yes, definitely. Yeah, everything is going online on the site. So they're having like more videos and more like interactive content and stuff like that. Again, my name is Ashley Olson from wheelchairtraveling.com, and everybody keep traveling on.